Diego Maradona was a god. And I'm not just talking about football. There is a full-blown religion in the name of Maradona. But that's not all. Did you know he almost got locked up for trying to murder someone? You definitely don't want to miss that story, but I'll get back to that later. Let's start off with the holy side of Diego. The day was October 30th, 1998. In the city of Rosario, three friends, Hector Campomar, Alejandro Veron, and Hernan Ames, sat together in a room celebrating Maradona's birthday. Yeah, Argentinians love him that much. That night, they decided to form a new religion, Iglesia Maradoniana. And yeah, there were probably a few beers involved in the creation of this religion, but still, they take it very seriously. I have a rational religion, and that's the Catholic Church, and I have a religion passed on to my heart and passion, and that's Diego Maradona, says one of the founders. They even have their own 10 commandments, and some of them are absolutely hilarious. The 9th commandment says, "Your middle name shall be Diego." I wonder how that would work for the female worshippers. The last commandment is even better. It says, "Your first son's name shall be Diego." So if you're Argentinian born after the 2000s and your first name is Diego, you might want to have a conversation with your parents about their religious beliefs. Thou shalt let Maradona lie with your wife or girlfriends whenever he wants to. Okay, this is not one of the real commandments, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind adding it. As ridiculous as it may sound to some people, I get why these guys would worship Diego. Why wouldn't you worship a man who is known to have the hand of God? And sure, you might know the simple story about the infamous hand of God, but trust me, what he did 19 years later, nobody talks about for some reason. The 1986 World Cup became one of the most iconic tournaments in football because of the one and only Diego Maradona. This man single-handedly gave us one of the most controversial moments in football history. And when I say single-handedly, I mean that literally. Argentina was up against England in the quarterfinals. Both teams were yet to score when Maradona got the ball outside the box. There were a bunch of defenders in front of him, but that has never been an issue for Diego. He dribbled through them, passed the ball to his teammate on the right, and ran into the box, waiting for the ball to be passed back. An English defender mistakenly kicked it into the air toward Maradona, who wasted no time and headed the ball into the goal. The England players ran to the referee to protest, but the referee wouldn't budge. The goal was given. And why wouldn't it be? Most of us saw a clean header. It wasn't until people looked closely at the replay footage that they saw the shocking reality behind the goal. Maradona had scored the goal with his hand. At that moment, England fans would have given anything, and I mean anything, even all their tea and crisps, to have VAR. But the damage was done. Maradona confessed to scoring the goal with his hand, but unfortunately for England, he did it 19 years later. How convenient. But hey, just wait till you hear about the time when he almost killed a reporter with that exact same hand. I swear you can't miss this. I think I'm legit the first guy to talk about this on YouTube. But for now, let's talk about that time when Maradona partied with the greatest criminal in history. If there is a footballer in the world who could get a party invitation from Pablo Escobar, the most prolific criminal in history, it would be Mr. Maradona. And you know what they say, real recognize real. Pablo Escobar threw a lot of wild parties in his luxury prison, La Catedral. He was also a big fan of Maradona. So one time, Pablo offered him a buttload of money to show up at the party and kick some balls with him. And because this is Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria, we have to clarify that they were not talking about human balls. Diego Maradona took the money, went to the party, and had the time of his life. Later that evening, we had a party with the best girls I've ever seen in my life. And it was in a prison. I couldn't believe it. The next morning, he paid me and said goodbye, said Maradona. Yeah, you thought I was making this up, weren't you? No BS on Skiller Originals, man, so make sure to subscribe. But you might be asking, why would Diego party with a known criminal? When I found out his reason, I was pretty confused, to be honest. Maradona claimed he had never heard of Pablo Escobar before. Yeah, right, Diego, you've never heard of the most famous criminal in history? Give me a break, man. Especially since Maradona himself had a long and turbulent history with Pablo Escobar's primary product, cocaine. I think there is not a single player in the world who loved cocaine more than Maradona. He failed his first drug test after a game against Bari in 1991, when he was still playing for Napoli. And after being banned for 15 months, he fled to Buenos Aires so he wouldn't get arrested. But his master plan didn't work, and still spent some time in jail. Soon enough, Maradona's name became synonymous with the white powder. I saw him doing cocaine. I grabbed him by the ankle and said, "What are you doing?" He wanted to invite me to do some too, but I said, "What for?" Then Diego answered me, "Well, you see, because that makes you want to talk, and then you can talk about anything," said Maradona's personal trainer, Fernando Signorini. So, just to put things into perspective, this is a pro footballer offering his trainer to snort a line with him. Anyways, everyone knew how bad his drug problem was, but one time Maradona did something that left people so shocked, it's still being talked about to this day. It was the global all-star game in 1986. Maradona had scored the final penalty to win the game for his team. Everyone came around him to celebrate, including this staff member in the light blue shirt. Wait, what is that? Why is he stretching out his hand to Maradona like that? Holy shit! Did this man just do a line of coke on a football field with tens of thousands of people watching? Wow, that is careless on another level. Do you know the player I could have been if I hadn't taken drugs? I'm 53 going on 78 because my life hasn't been normal. I've lived 80 years with the life I've gone through. Do you hear that, kids? Stay away from coke or any other drugs. But that was not the only stupid thing Maradona did with hundreds of cameras pointed at him. Remember what I said in the beginning about Maradona going to jail for murder? Brace yourself for this one. It was February 2nd, 1994. Diego was chilling in his house in Buenos Aires, trying to cool down after being suspended for yet another drug controversy. Diego was trying to lay low, but the media wouldn't stop coming to his house and taking pictures of him. So Maradona decided enough was enough and did one of the craziest and most dangerous things anyone could ever do. He got his rifle, crouched behind his car, and started firing into the crowd of reporters. What the hell, dude? That's insane! 4 people were injured and Maradona was obviously arrested. He was found guilty of assault with a weapon. But guess what? He was given a suspended jail sentence of 2 years and 10 months, meaning he didn't do any actual jail time. I would be pissed if I was one of those reporters. But then again, you could argue they should have respected the man's privacy. But that was not the only time Maradona physically injured journalists. Oh no. His relationship with reporters and journalists grew worse and worse over time. They wouldn't leave him alone, even years after he had retired from pro football. And in 2013, Diego was in the car with some friends when he recognized some journalists followed him. He immediately pulled over, got down, and you already know where this is going, don't you? He got out of the car, grabbed the reporter by the arm, looked him straight in the eye, and asked, "Have you liked the video yet? Say yes, and I'll let you go." Nah, I'm just kidding, but please like the video and subscribe. It really does help me a lot. So what actually happened? Diego picked up some stones from the side of the road and threw them at the journalists, and he even ended up kicking one of them. But these particular journalists got off easy, because this next guy saw his life flash before his eyes during his encounter with Diego. This happened way back in 2000. Maradona got into another heated encounter with the paparazzi. But trust me, this one is incomparable to the rest. Maradona reached his breaking point, went to the photographer's window, and punched through the glass. Bro, this man must have been incredibly coked up that night. When he was asked about the incident, Maradona joked about it. "I did it with the hand of reason," obviously referring to the famous World Cup match. Maradona was funny, man. Just listen to what he said after running over a journalist's foot. "What an asshole you are. How can you put your leg there when it can get run over, man?" Making this video made me realize this guy really despises journalists. But him punching through a window makes much more sense when you find out this man fought in a professional boxing match a few years before. Diego Maradona was great friends with flyweight boxer Santos Falucho Lachiar. Maradona, probably high on some powder, promised Santos to fight him on the 15th anniversary of his heroic win against Peter Matabula. The day had come. Maradona put on his gloves and headgear and went into the ring. It was a 3-round exhibition match. The stakes weren't really that high and everything should have been normal, right? Well, at one point during the fight, the referee came in to separate them. All of a sudden, Santos pushed and started to punch the referee. Maradona saw this and then joined him? Soon enough, it was a match between 2 fighters and 1 referee. What the hell is going on here? Somebody should have probably drug tested those 2 before letting them into a ring. But there is one person Maradona would have given anything to fight with. You might have heard of this guy before. The only other footballer who gave Maradona a run for his money. Before Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, Maradona and Pelé dominated the GOAT debates. Now, Messi and Cristiano got along pretty well, but the story is very different when it comes to Pelé and Maradona. The 2 legends had a feud that lasted long after they both retired. It was so bad that even FIFA was put in a tight spot because of these 2. They were about to present the award for Player of the Century. The fans voted, and Maradona won by 53%. But FIFA knew that giving the award to Maradona rather than Pelé was a mistake. So what did they decide to do? They just gave the award to both of them. What the hell? Maradona got his award first and immediately got out of there. He didn't stay to watch Pelé get his award because Diego did not respect Pelé's award. In 2000, I won the Player of the Century award. Thanks to the people, Pelé was second. But by far, the pettiest encounter between these 2 was in 2009. Pelé said Maradona was not a good example for the youth, and Maradona decided to go straight for Pelé's sexuality. What do you want me to say? He debuted with a lad. Hey, I'm not going to be the one to explain that to you guys, but I'm sure you're smart enough to get it. If not, let me know and I can make a video on Pelé next. Liam Gallagher, the lead singer of the band Oasis, told a story of his encounter with Maradona, and it literally blew my mind. He had just finished playing a concert in Argentina and went to a bar to have some fun. According to Liam, the famous singer Sting was in the bar, crying, because he got robbed that night. You can't make this stuff up, man, but stay with me. As they were standing there, Maradona walks in with a mob of about 30 people and goes upstairs to the club. Liam and his brother decide to go and meet Maradona, but they couldn't have anticipated what happened next. We steamed up there and we got in there, and there's loads of activity going on. Maradona's in the middle of the room doing football tricks with a bottle top. He's sweating his bollocks off. But right at that moment, Maradona's translator came over and told Liam something that must have scared the shite out of him. He told me to tell you, if you leave with any of these he'll have you shot. I'm sure he could. Don't mess with a guy who partied with Escobar. Thankfully, Maradona did not have them shot, but have you ever heard the story about the footballer who got shot for missing a penalty? Click this video on the screen, man. It's a mental story.